Hello and welcome to the Play by Play Show. My name is Leo West, joined by, for the first ever time on the show, a co-host, Jacob Smith. Jacob, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How's it going? I'm proud to be the
Oh,
first co-host.
yeah, guest co-host, just the first person to make an appearance on the show. This will probably go down in the history books as like when we're looking at each other's careers respectively.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going into the Baseball Hall of Fame for being a broadcaster. They're gonna replay this moment in their slideshow of whoever's going on in 60 years. This is what they're gonna play. They're gonna play this. They're gonna play this clip right here, because they knew it was gonna happen, or whatever Hall of Fame I make it into. But nonetheless, we have a really exciting show for you today. We got some NBA trade deadline winners and losers. Yes, we
Bang.
get it. We get it. It's a little late, all right? But we do understand that there's an All-Star game going on this weekend, so there's no other news in the NBA to cover. Um, then we got the Alex Bregman signing. We'll talk about that and what it looks like for the Red Sox lineup. And then we have Aaron Rodgers, and then if we have time today, we're going to talk about the Four Nations face-off. Which, I mean, I don't know if you watched that game
Oh
last
my
night.
God.
That was not the Finland Sweden one. National implications aside, that was a really good game. Obviously it wasn't as exciting because we're both Americans, so we're
Yeah, that
obviously
was
cheering about
unbelievable.
that. But it was still a really good game. I saw the goal in overtime, um, and then and then the USA Canada game. I mean, we can't get into the layers here because this is not a political podcast. If you want to do that,
Yeah.
go listen to like the New York Times or something like that. But like, I mean, from start to finish, I was entertained. So
Yeah.
USA taking the dub 3-1 in that one,
Such an insane
over
game.
Team Canada. Yeah, it was an insane game. Without further ado, let's get into our NBA trade deadline winners and losers. The trade deadline was last week, or I think it might have been actually been the week before that. But
February 5th, I believe, was the
yeah,
deadline. Yeah.
so 11 days ago. But like, what other news has been going on besides like Luka's debut? I mean, I'm a Sixers fan. The Sixers have been sucking major balls. I know the Pistons
Yeah.
have been good.
Yeah, I'm a big Pistons
So
guy, and they've been holding it down. It's been exciting considering all of the last other like seasons in my recent sports fan life. But I
you
mean,
know,
it's
I
been unreal to see.
I was going through Blake Griffin's stats just for whatever reason. I think last night I was hanging out
Throwback.
with some friends, and Blake Griffin's best season was on the Pistons in 1920. His best
That he
All
was
NBA
something
third
else,
team,
man.
All NBA third team. I couldn't believe it. We saw him in like I don't know. We were watching I was watching college basketball last night. I saw him in a commercial and was like, dude was like if someone made a joke about him being a comedian, and I was like, oh, how good was Blake Griffin?
Dude, he was like the most
Um,
loved guy in Detroit like 5 years ago. It was so good. His
yeah,
prime in Detroit was unbelievable.
he might have temporarily overtaken Barry Sanders if we're talking
Yeah,
Detroit sports love.
just for a
Um,
year.
just for a year. But yeah, so we're gonna go two winners. The both of us have two winners, so in total we're gonna do four winners, four losers. We'll start with our winners first, and then we'll go into our losers. But I mean, I think the big and obvious winner is the Los Angeles Lakers. You know,
Yeah.
this is after the Mark Williams thing, so it's a good thing we're doing this a week or so later because we wouldn't have had that extra information if we were just doing this day of trade deadline like initial reaction. So I mean they were making out like bandits
Oh my God.
without having Mark Williams, but I still think they're a trade deadline winner without Mark Williams because they still get to keep those assets that they would have traded to. I mean, they don't have a big man, and like all this crap on ESPN is like, are they going to sign Boogie Cousins? Is Dwight Howard going to come back? Like, what are we talking about? Have we not?
The
Have we
best free
lost the
agents are still
plot?
available. Yeah.
Yeah, have we lost the plot? Like, I know
No.
Jackson Hayes, he's whatever. I don't really know what they're going to do at center going forward
Yeah.
besides having Jackson Hayes out there. I mean, you have no Anthony Davis to play the center anymore, but he doesn't
Yeah.
play the center anyway. So, but I mean, after like hearing everything that has come out about this Luka Doncic trade, like it's so wild. Like Nico Harrison had to have hated the GM of the Mavericks. By the way, for those of you who
Yeah.
don't know who've been living under a rock, he is got to be like the most spiteful person on the planet. Like the original package had like Dalton Connect first rounders, and all the Los Angeles gave up was Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first.
Yeah, I believe Rob Pelinka was like, is there any way we can do this trade without giving up Dalton Connect? And
Yeah,
Nico Harrison was like, okay, if that's what you want, then sure. And I mean,
yeah.
that's just not how you're obviously supposed to play GM. I think all of our like NBA 2K GM, my league knowledge can be able to confirm that you're not
Obviously,
like if
yeah. That's not
you're
what you
supposed to
do.
leverage yourself and leverage your best players and be able to kind of retain. Like if you're going for Dalton Connect, he's a rookie in the NBA, he's a shooter. He
Decent
will get
player.
you buckets and he can spot up, shoot, create his own shot. Did it at Tennessee last year when he was in college. He can still do those things. And if you're going to try to get him in a trade, you got to go get him. You can't just play passive and then let Rob Pelinka kind of, I don't know if we can curse on this show, but kind of like baby you around a little bit. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, come on.
You just dog walk them. Like I don't know how much you have to hate somebody to get you talked down out of a trade. I mean, and the thing is, he didn't go to the owner. The ownership laughed him out of the room. Like Jason Kidd had none of it.
No.
They
That
I
introductory
mean,
press conference or when they were talking about the
Jason Kidd
Anthony Davis
said it
trade.
all.
Oh my
Said it
God.
all. But yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis is a Maverick. He looked really good in his debut, and then now he's got like a knee sprain or something like that. Really unfortunate for him. Hopefully he can come back soon. And then Max Christie's been Max Christie. You know, it's. I mean, it's like I just don't get it. But Lakers are clear winners for me. Um,
Yeah.
in this trade. I mean, I don't know if you saw the debut of the Luca Lakers and him and LeBron, Luca and LeBron. I mean, Luca's like he only got 14 points, and I saw a tweet that he passed Bronny James in all-time scoring for the Lakers just by in one game. But he was like, I saw him smiling. It looked like he was at like a summer camp or something like that.
Yeah.
He was just that happy to be there.
Yeah.
But
A bunch of good vibes out there. And I think the
yeah,
trade's good too, because like what to your point, I mean, we're calling the Lakers winners without Mark Williams kind of becoming a Laker. Like obviously that trade
yeah,
fell through due to a failed physical, but the Lakers still have proven that they're clear winners in this trade. And I think obviously like the initial reaction to the media for the Dallas Mavericks, like everybody hates the trade and everybody thought it was the worst thing ever because oh my god, you traded Luka Doncic. Totally get it from that perspective, but also I feel like the Mavericks are kind of set up to win right now. And I know that Anthony Davis did get hurt, unfortunately, as that's kind of the only drawback that he really has with his career is his ability to stay on the court. But I believe that Anthony Davis provides the Mavericks a great opportunity to win right now. Obviously, Luka's defense is not as good as Anthony Davis's, two completely different positions, but also Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders in the league, if not all time. So you
yeah.
add him to your lineup right now, especially with Kyrie Irving, who can still get you buckets. He's still averaging around 24 and a half per game. So I think the Mavericks are still built to win this year. Their championship window is still open because they just made it to the championship last year. I know they didn't
Yeah.
win the NBA Finals, but they were just there a year ago, and I believe that this trade makes sense right now. But are we talking a year or two down the line? Is then we're going to look back at this? All right, so you traded Luka Doncic. Now your future's kind of screwed because Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving aren't going to hang around much longer.
Yeah.
I think that's obviously the reason why the Lakers kind of stole the deal in this trade.
I mean, and the thing is, like that'd be fine if you got like, I mean, Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round
Yeah,
picks. If we think about that trade, and Mikal Bridges went for like 5 first-round picks. And you
yeah,
tell me all you could muster up for Luka Doncic, a top 5, dare I say, top 3 player in the NBA,
yeah,
is 34-year-old Anthony Davis, Max
and
Christie,
one first round
and
pick,
1 first-round pick. I
unbelievable.
mean, you're right. Dallas is set up to win right now, but you got rid of their best player and you shortened their championship window. It's just,
Yeah,
it just like, yeah, like it could make sense. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it's like say the precedent was like no one was really wanted to trade anymore. Kevin Durant only got traded for like a first round. Mikal Bridges one protected first rounder. Rudy Gobert like an unprotected first round pick. Like would make a little bit more sense. It's just with what we know already and what Nico Harrison already knew. It's just I don't know. And like we always saw those tweets about like oh the Lakers are gonna get Steph Curry and for a bag of chips. And like, I just can't believe it, one of those tweets actually came true. Like this makes no it made no sense to me. And like
it was a shocker
it
to
was a
everybody.
shocker. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seriously was. Um, but yeah, Lakers first winners. I mean, I think they're the clear winners of this trade deadline. I think it would have been a lot sweeter if they could have kept Mark Williams on that deal. But I think the difference between why he didn't pass his physical and Luka passed his physical is because there were some things in Mark Williams' physical that the team didn't know about, so they had to cancel the trade. And Dalton Connect was awkwardly on the bench for Luka's debut with the Lakers, which I thought was pretty funny. And then Jacob, you want to tell me your first winner?
Yeah, I think a little bit of surprise for some people. My first winner is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe that the trade that they made for Kyle Kuzma in addition, or in exchange for Chris Middleton rather, was the right move for the Bucks right now because obviously they're 29 and 24. They're kind of in the middle of the pack in the East, although the East is a little bit weaker than the West is right now. That sets them up at the 5 seed, and I believe that this deal does make sense because Chris Middleton's been a Buck forever. We all know that he's had plenty of legendary playoff moments there, and he's really served his time, I believe, in Milwaukee. But I think Milwaukee fans, as well as casual basketball fans, could kind of tell that Chris Middleton's time in Milwaukee was kind of coming to an end a little bit. He can still get you points. He'll still create his own shot. He's a very good scorer as well as a pretty solid defender. But Kyle Kuzma just makes more sense. I feel like at that position at small forward, adds a little bit more height. Definitely a better glass presence. Chris Middleton isn't grabbing 10 boards a game. Kyle Kuzma got 13 in one of their games last week, so he's been able to immediately help Giannis down there and get rebounds because Giannis has kind of taken on a big role. I know Brooke Lopez is there at center at pretty much 7 feet tall, but he's not going to get you as many boards
I
as a
mean,
typical center will.
he's
Yeah, he's
just a 3-point shooter.
exactly half the time he's picking and popping, so he's not really going to be down there getting boards. So I think that adding Kyle Kuzma to the lineup for the Bucks makes sense. It's a smart move. It gets them a little bit more better on defense. It helps them with their glass presence, as I mentioned, getting more rebounds, crashing the glass, and definitely creating opportunities for offensive rebounds as well. I don't think this is just a defensive rebounding trade. I know I'm talking a little bit about defensive rebounding right now, but Kyle Kuzma is also a great scorer. He's putting up a little bit of empty stats in Washington. I know he's around 20 points per game or so, and obviously that's going to regress a little bit because you're playing alongside of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, so his points are going to take a little bit of a hit. But I think he's going to play his role well. I think that's the thing that's always been good with Kyle Kuzma. He knows how to play a role. He did it when he first came in the league and was playing for the Lakers. Obviously, he expanded his role in Washington because there wasn't much else around him. But I think this trade makes sense. I think it actually makes the Milwaukee Bucks better. It gets them younger slightly. And I think that at 29 and 24, fifth in the East right now, they got the chance to make a playoff push, especially in a weak Eastern Conference. But I think this might be like Milwaukee's last chance, if that makes sense, because Damian Lillard's not getting any younger. Giannis is getting up there in age, but not old. But obviously, Giannis has expressed that he wants to win, and they have not been able to do that in recent years since their championship in 2021. So I believe that this makes sense for Milwaukee. It's kind of like their last push. I see it as a championship window. But I like it. I think they get younger, and I think it helps. And Chris Middleton, he might not stick around in Washington for very long, but it came around to his time. I feel like it had to happen.
Yeah, I don't really hate this. I don't really hate this trade either. So Kyle Kuzma's getting paid $26 million this year. I'm gonna look up Chris Middleton's contract on Spotrac right now.
It's a hefty price for Kyle Kuzma, but I believe that his game is a little bit underrated, as some of the casual basketball fans won't give him his flowers.
Yeah. So this year Chris Middleton he's making $31 million, which is I mean Chris Middleton he was All-Star a couple of years ago, but I think I heard he's just really hasn't been it. He has a player option this year, which I'm assuming he's not going to turn down $34 million, and after that he's
No.
unrestricted free agent. But yeah, he's 35 right now. That actually that's a very good trade for the Milwaukee Bucks. I do like the fact that he got a little bit younger, and then they have another forward to kind of throw there with Bobby Portis, Giannis, and now Kyle Kuzma. I just think it makes it makes him deeper at the forward spot, and you're losing Chris Middleton, but this isn't like Chris Middleton at the beginning of the decade. This is Chris Middleton who's 34 years old and hasn't, and it's just not that guy anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the Bucks are winners. They got off a pretty it's a bad contract. I think Kyle Kuzma is not going to be. I think he's going to be a more effective player for them. You said you're right. I mean, he's only putting up like 16 and 6 right now, or 13 and 6 right now. So it's nothing crazy, but you got to do what you got to do.
That was all you're going to get for Kyle Kuzma. But like I said, kind of their last push anyway. So, I mean, add a guy that can get you at least 13, solid presence there in the starting lineup, come off the bench with a second unit, do whatever he needs to do. I think it works.
I like that. And then, so for my second winner, I have the San Antonio Spurs. And
Nice.
oh my goodness, the San Antonio Spurs. And it was funny is I was on my college radio station, and I was talking about spots where De'Aaron Fox should go. I'd like the Spurs. I mean, because I saw a Spawn Hour TikTok a couple weeks ago. Matthew Spawn Hour TikTok. And he was talking about, I was like, why aren't people lining up to play in San Antonio right now? I was like, Yeah, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the best player in the NBA like I don't know. I mean, I don't know
For the very near future.
in the very near future. It's gonna be soon, but yeah, De'Aaron Fox links up with Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. Just go over the full trade details. De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin go to the Spurs, and then the Kings, because this is a 3-team trade with the Bulls included. The Kings get Zach LaVine, City Sissoko, Charlotte protected first round pick, or yeah, Charlotte protected first round pick. San Antonio Spurs unprotected, and then there's this wild card 2031 Minnesota unprotected first round pick. I'm assuming they'll be terrible by then. So that
Yeah.
actually might end up being a pretty good pick, but that's
Yeah.
6 years from now, so who knows?
Kind of
The
just a gamble.
Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Herter, and then their own first round pick back from the Spurs, which is going to be valuable. I mean, I kind of want to put the Bulls in here, but like Zach, the Bulls in here as a loser, and then the Kings in here as a winner, because I feel like that return for the Kings is it's really good. You got 3 first round picks and Zach LaVine for De'Aaron Fox. And
Definitely an underrated return.
that just makes the Luka trade look so much more stupid.
I know. I
Just-
agree.
It just makes it infinitesimally more stupid. But
Yeah.
I mean, this trade sets him up long term. And the thing is, De'Aaron Fox is a free agent after next season, so he could just walk away, and this could be a failure for San Antonio. But someone's gonna want to play with them. And I don't know how much longer Greg Popovich is gonna be the coach, but I don't really think it matters who their coach is, because they're still gonna have like a Spurs or Greg Popovich disciple come in there and then just run the show. But yeah, I like this trade for the Spurs. I think it sets them up for a championship window that's starting to open right now. I don't want to get ahead of myself and say that they're going to be contenders this year, next year. They might not be. They might not even be contenders 2-3 years from now. But this kind of sets in the foundation, because you didn't give up any of your. You didn't give up Devin Vassell. You didn't give up Keldon Johnson. You didn't give up Stephon Castle. You didn't give up anybody of real note to get De'Aaron Fox. So it's still a good trade. The Bulls actually did most of the heavy lifting in this trade to get De'Aaron Fox onto the Spurs. So
Yeah.
it kind of they kind of worked out right. It kind of worked out for them. I really think that they added a really good piece to put behind throw lobs to Victor Wembanyama, and he's going to learn from Chris Paul. Hopefully, he learns how to win a championship, not how to lose a championship.
Or get there at least. Yeah.
Talk about CP 0 rings for for days and days. I mean, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
it's just, but yeah, that's
I
I think the Spurs are winners.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think that pairing De'Aaron Fox, a guy that's going to get you, he can score, and there's no denying that. He obviously excels in that part of his game, probably the better part of his game. But I think developing him a little bit next to Chris Paul will improve his playmaking ability, especially
Everyone
when you
needs a
got
mentor. Everyone
exactly.
needs a mentor.
It doesn't matter how many years you've been in the NBA. De'Aaron Fox has been around since around 2018, but it doesn't matter because playing next to a guy like Chris Paul with that veteran leadership and stuff like that will definitely improve his game, especially in the passing aspect. But I also believe that San Antonio is definitely set up for success in the future. I like your point that they're probably going to be a prime free agent destination for many years to come. As long as Victor Wembanyama,
yeah.
exactly, as long as Victor Wembanyama is still in San Antonio, there's no denying the fact that they're going to bring in talent. And I think that this is about the right time they need to start because obviously Victor was drafted last year. He had his rookie season last year, and he's only gotten better. But it's proven that Victor and a bunch of younger guys, developing guys, aren't going to hang around. They're still the 12th seed in the West right now.
Yeah,
so they're not even.
The Spurs are right now. They're not a good team. They're not.
Yeah, so
I think
exactly.
This is a move that does move the needle, but it doesn't move the needle all the way.
Exactly. It gets them there a little bit, puts them on track. I think if you can retain De'Aaron Fox, bring in an extension maybe after or even this offseason or even next offseason when he's trying to be a free agent. I think that you're setting up a good core, and Chris Paul will be out there by then, so it's kind of their team now. But I think they're on the right track. Pump the brakes a little bit because they got to even get in the play-in picture. But I believe this is definitely the right move for San Antonio.
Yeah, definitely agree. We'll go into our last winner, then we'll get into our losers.
Yeah, so the last one I have here is also probably a little bit of a sneaky one, underrated one. I'm going to go with the Toronto Raptors, and I'm going to tell you why. This is not a win for this season at the trade deadline because the Raptors are 17-38, 13th in the East. They're obviously not going to win anything this year, but I believe that this is a win for the future. And what I'm talking about is Brandon Ingram. Bringing Brandon Ingram in is a very, very good move, I think, for Toronto. Just to read off some of the trade details here, the Raptors brought in Brandon Ingram in exchange for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and multiple draft picks, which includes a first rounder. So I don't think that they had to give up that much. Obviously, for a guy like Brandon Ingram, he's going to get you 25 a game, and he did it in New Orleans. Obviously, New Orleans wasn't having the success that they believed that they would have with Brandon Ingram on that team, because him, Zion Williamson, T.J. McCollum, they were never able to stay on the court fully healthy together all at the same time. But I believe that bringing in Brandon Ingram from Toronto was great because they just signed him to a 3-year, $120 million extension. So he's going to be there hanging around for a while now.
Yeah.
You're pairing him along the names of Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, Emmanuel Quickly, and R.J. Barrett. That's a solid team. And I know we might not see
a bad lineup.
we might not see it right now, especially this season with how they're playing. But a year, 2 years down the line, get a little bit young. They're already very young. I mean, it's the guys I mentioned. Grady Dick was drafted 2 years ago. Emmanuel Quickly is still 25 years old. R.J. Barrett, he came around into was it 2019 when Zion was drafted? So
Yeah.
obviously very, very young capital here. They don't have that they don't have that superstar. Brandon Ingram's a great player, all-star caliber. He's not going to be that superstar, but he's someone you can pair a superstar with. And having Brandon Ingram as your second option, if you can retain RJ Barrett as your third option, that's a solid team. I don't care who you're talking about or who you're playing. Like I said, I think this sets them up for the future. Maybe not this season, obviously, with their record, but I just think some of the young pieces they got, Toronto, they've proven they can win. They got a championship. They've proven they can win with less, too. I know it's a different coaching situation than it was in 2019 when they won the championship, but they've proven they can win. It's an attractable market. Toronto, the Six, I mean, you got pretty much all you could want there, and I think that they'll be fine. They'll be good. They'll be fine. They'll bring in people. They'll be able to compete in a few years.
Brandon Ingram went from L.A. Then to like there's no hate towards New Orleans, but I don't think it's as desirable as a place as Los Angeles, and now he's living in Toronto.
No.
I mean,
Very interesting career path.
Ingram might be a loser, but I think $40 million a year is not gonna. I think that might help with that, you know. But yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, this team just kind of screams 5-6 seed to me. Even when they're good and with Brandon Ingram's healthy, you know, I do see this as a win. I do think it is a win, but I don't know how much of a win. Like I think the ceiling is capped. Like the ceiling is capped with Brandon Ingram. He's never played 82 games in a season. The most times he played in a season was 79, and that was his rookie year all the way back in 2016, 2017. I mean, that was the Ben Simmons draft class, and how much has happened in the NBA since then? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The most he's played since then is 64 games, and that was last year. But like even when he was in LA, the most games he played after his rookie season was 59. And then I mean, you know, because there's always been improvement with Brandon Ingram, and now he's established himself as a 22, 23 point per game scorer. So I do think he's got that going for him. I'm just thinking is he ever going to be healthy? That's my only concern with this. I mean, and you give him money too. I do like the fact that, you know, it's not just a rental. I think that adds value to this trade on the Raptors end, but you know, I can see where you know where your logic is. For me, honestly, I think I would have had the Cavaliers at this fourth spot, getting DeAndre Hunter for literally a bag of chips. I mean, I know that's a cliche now, saying they got someone for a bag of chips. They actually got him for a bag of chips. They actually got him for nothing. That's a player I thought. Like honestly, I really wish the Sixers would have just done Paul George for DeAndre Hunter, because I can't stand Paul George right now. I can't stand Paul George. I'm going to go on a tangent if we talk about that. So let's get into our losers and then
definitely
keep things rolling right now. But yeah, those are our winners. Those are official winners. You know, you'll see them on Instagram. You'd see them everywhere. See them on Twitter too, because we are a multimedia company here on the Play by Play show. We don't mess around here, all right?
Plug the ads too. You gotta plug these in there. So.
I will. The ads will be in every links. All the links are in the bio of this show. The Instagram page, the Twitter page, the TikTok page is coming.
There we go.
So, yeah, you'll see all of this right now, and then you know, let's get into our losers for this one. So my losers, or my first loser, is the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, I think it kind of goes without saying. We already kind of covered it in the Lakers one, so I won't spend too much time on it. But yeah, Luka Doncic is not on your team anymore.
Unreal.
That's
You could leave it at that.
Yeah, I could leave it at that, and I think I'm just gonna roll with that. Look, Luka Doncic is not on your team. That makes you a loser because you downgraded. You downgraded the players, and you downgraded the draft capital you had to. Like,
Yeah,
I
not to
mean,
mention a limited return as
exactly.
well.
And the Lakers are going to be good because you know what? They have Luka freaking Doncic. Like, oh my goodness, dude. Like, Nico Harrison. I mean, they're kicking fans. The Mavericks are kicking fans out of their home arena because fans are saying fire Nico or mouthing fire Nico on the jumbotron. They didn't even do the kiss cam for like 3 games. As soon as they did that, someone said fire Nico and got escorted out of the building. That's fragile
Yeah, they're also.
behavior to me.
I've seen that too.
So fragile to me.
They're
Like,
not letting anybody mess around. If you're down talking Nico Harrison or anybody with the Mavericks, you're getting kicked out of your stadium. I think that's just the passion that a sports fan has. You're supposed to be allowed to express yourself, especially if you're attending a professional sports game in your own arena as a fan. But I mean, just not great stuff from the Mavericks as a result of this trade
for the Mavericks. All right, like
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a play out of the James Dolan playbook, if you ask me. So, you know, James Dolan famously threw out Charles Oakley, Knicks legend, out of MSG, and is just a notoriously fragile person. So this is just it's just making its way west. But yeah, Jacob, tell me your first loser.
Yeah. So my first loser is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves here. I would comment on their moves that they made, but they didn't make any. They made 0 trades. They're 31-25 right now, 7th in the West, and this was a team that just made the Western Conference Finals last year. Took the Dallas Mavericks to 7 games. So for me, I hated the initial trade that they made in the offseason for Julius Randle in exchange for Karl-Anthony Towns, who went to the New York Knicks and is balling out, as we all know that Karl-Anthony Towns does.
Yeah.
I don't care what your perception of him is. He's a great NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
This trade just never made sense. And I know I'm not talking about the deadline right now. I'm talking about the summer with Julius Randle. It never made sense to me. And the fact that you're bringing in Julius Randle, who's significantly worse on defense than Karl-Anthony Towns is.
I mean,
And-
Karl-Anthony Towns isn't a good defender, and then you bring in Julius Randle. I mean,
Who-
I guess I don't want to interrupt you, but I think the
No,
thought
go ahead.
process was we have Rudy Gobert, so if we're not gonna play, we could just like, I mean, but like it doesn't even help their spacing either, because
No.
Julius Randle would have been like one of the best players in the NBA in the 1990s. He was getting if he was getting back to the basket on the centers and the power forwards they had back then. I mean, geez, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like I'm saying, if you're a significantly worse defender than Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously something's not going right for you. And I believe that you commented on spacing. Julius Randle, if you had never watched Julius Randle go play basketball in the NBA, go watch a Timberwolves game, because if you watch him and you just focus on him while he's on the court, it's not great hoops. And I know he's gotten his praise, especially when he was in New York, especially for how good he was able to score the basketball. Julius Randle's a great scorer. I would never deny that. But everything else that he does besides scoring does not contribute to winning basketball. There's a reason why New York wasn't really winning before, while Julius Randle was there, because it took them time to move on, get Jalen Brunson, and eventually get Karl-Anthony Towns. But enough about
He was a 3-time All-Star in New York.
empty stats.
Empty stats.
I'm serious. I'm not trying. This is not a Julius Randle hate podcast. I'm so serious. If you watch him play basketball, he does everything besides scoring horribly, and it's just not.
Julius Randle plays the game the right way. All right, he shoots mid ranges. He plays with his back to the basket. He
On
takes
scoring.
as much time in the shot clock right there. He takes inefficient shots. That's what I love to see in the NBA. But continue, yes.
That's exactly to my point. But I'm not going to ramble on about Julius Randle much longer. It's going to be sorry to the ear. But I like to this Minnesota Timberwolves team streaky. Like they've been the whole season. They have 6 separate streaks with 3+ wins in a row, but they also have 4 separate streaks with 3+ losses in a row. So they're winning games and they're losing games in a row, and then there's like nothing in between. Very streaky. They were number 1 overall in defense last year in opposing points per game and defensive rating. It still hasn't changed much this year. They're still top 10. So obviously most of their stats are still there, and they're still clamping down on defense. A big thanks to Rudy Gobert. Obviously the stats have gotten worse, not too much worse to a margin where it's significantly concerning, but the record is nowhere near what it was last year. I know 31-25 is still a very good record, but
Decent.
in the Western Conference, it doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot, let alone like fighting for your life in the play-in. So I don't like the fact that they made no moves. I think that they could have benefited from at least bringing in like another shooter, because there's not too many guys like
DeAndre
Anthony Edwards.
Hunter.
Yeah, and so I'm going to touch on DeAndre Hunter in a second. Don't you worry. But it's just it doesn't make sense to me. They got Anthony Edwards, who obviously is going to score in every asset of the game, not just 3-pointers. But I feel like they don't have any spot up shooters that really contribute to some of the winning that they could use there over in Minnesota. I just really don't like, because Julius Randle is kind of just like a worse Anthony Edwards with his shot selection and playmaking skills. Obviously, he doesn't have much of those, and his shot tendency is definitely a little bit questionable at times. Anthony Edwards, somewhat questionable like shot tendency, but he's obviously going to score it, and he's a star player. Doesn't matter. It's just I don't like the fact that they didn't make any moves. They didn't bring any shooting. They didn't. Their defense is fine, so they don't need to touch that. But they're not scoring enough on offense to really contribute to what their defense is doing on the court. Kind of just a waste of some games. They've lost lots of close games this year. I just don't like the fact that they're a loser for me solely for the fact that they didn't bring anybody else in and they didn't make a single move at the deadline at all.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm thinking the same way too. So like, it just, I mean, yeah, that's a team that like you went to the Western Conference Finals. You say and the thing is they're not running it back with the same team. They have a different team, and so you're staring at yourself right now. You got to make moves to get into that upper echelon of the Western Conference. Doesn't make much sense to me why they didn't go out and get like a. Why didn't they go out and get a third guy? I mean, bring Zach LaVine back for all I care. He's another wing that can score. I mean, he probably's not the mold of what they want because Anthony Edwards is going to be he's the ball dominant guy. But go out and get a point guard. Go out and get a small forward. Go out and get a guy who can really who can really change things when Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle aren't on the floor. So, but yeah, I do agree. Timberwolves are losers. But that will take me to my second loser right here, and I have the Memphis Grizzlies, and kind of the same vein of the Timberwolves right now. They did make some news. They did make some news by dumping the Marcus Smart contract, which I mean I don't even know why they traded for him in the first place. Again,
yeah, it was never.
You had Bane, you had Ja Morant. You don't really need another guard in there. Like I get it because he's a defensive stalwart, but if you're dumping his contract, that doesn't mean he was a defensive stalwart. So I just, that's the only move they made right now because the Grizzlies they're in a lot better position than the Timberwolves right now, and you think that they do something. I mean, they're second in the West right now,
In a very tough West at that.
In a very tough West at that. Go out and get Jimmy Butler. Go out and get a guy who's on the trade block, who can help your team win a championship. I mean, like I'm looking at this Western Conference right now. I'd probably take the Nuggets over the Grizzlies. I'd probably take the Lakers, maybe the Rockets. I think the Rockets have more strength and depth, and I'm taking the Thunder obviously over this team right now. And then like I think like the closest comparison they have is probably a team like the Timberwolves where they have their two guys. They have Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. I do think the Grizzlies are more complete because they do have that like 3-and-D wing and Desmond Bane. I don't know how much D is with the Desmond Bane, but he's a very good 3-point shooter. He's 20 point per game scorer. That's a guy every championship team needs. And the Grizzlies got him. Unfortunately for the Timberwolves, they don't have that guy right now, but this is about the Grizzlies. I mean, just again making no moves. You got to improve. And the thing is, they will have. It's not like Ja Morant's 40 and he's going to retire. It's not like Jaren Jackson Jr. is an expiring contract. They still have the ability to be good in the future, not just this season. But you'd like them to make a move, especially because you never know. We never know when you're going to get the chance to go to a Western Conference Final or an NBA championship or win an NBA championship. So you gotta press your luck, and I just don't think the Grizzlies did that. Maybe they didn't do as attractive as a package as the Warriors did for Jimmy Butler, or maybe Jimmy Butler just simply didn't want to go to the Warriors.
Yeah, because he was very stingy. He was very stingy with what he was.
Stingy. I mean,
the destination.
I would not want to be in between him and Pat Riley a couple weeks ago. But
yeah,
Grizzlies are losers for me. Just no moves, not improving, and you lose and they're dumping Marcus Smart. It doesn't scream exciting. It just doesn't scream it doesn't scream winner to me. Which is exactly
I agree with you too because I think going back, I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies have kind of had the same roster for about 4 or 5 years now, and not a bad thing by any means because they've shown that when Ja Morant's on the court, they're going to win basketball games, but they've never been able to get over that hump. Ja Morant is definitely a number one option on the championship team. It's just like they've never been able to do that because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't stayed on the court for plenty of deep playoff runs, and they've never gotten over the hump with Ja Morant as that one guy. I believe that they're good enough to do so. The roster's built for that, especially with Jaren Jackson locking it down as a potential decoy candidate every year. I just believe that, like you said, a few moves or at least like something different, a different star, a different like player that's going to get you about 15 and really contribute to some of that winning over there in Memphis. I want to see it in some of these years coming down the line because they can't keep running it back with the same team, relying on John Morant to stay healthy or at least out of legal trouble, and then hope to get to the NBA Finals at some point, which they haven't been able to do so yet.
You just gotta hope that that's past right now. I think it is past them. So,
Yeah, but yeah.
let's go on to your last loser.
Yeah, for me, I know I said we touch on it. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks as my last loser here. A big reason of that is with the loss of DeAndre Hunter. It just doesn't make sense for me. But I mean, the Hawks, I like to call the Hawks stuck in a little phase that I like to call playing purgatory. They've been
Trademark it. Let's get royalties for that shit. Excuse me, royalties for that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Hawks have been kind of like the Memphis Grizzlies. They've had the same result to each season for the past 4 or 5 years. They get stuck in the play-in. They hang.
I think the Memphis Grizzlies are in a tier way above the Hawks. The Hawks remind me of the Washington Wizards with John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Kelly Oubre.
Very, very good comparison.
They're like 36 to 42 wins, and there's no room for improvement. But yeah,
especially with the play-in tournament now, which kind of, if as long as you're in that 7 to 10 range, you're locked into the fact that you got to play for a spot in the playoffs.
We're in the playoffs. We're gonna make the playoffs. Like no.
Yeah, obviously, as in an NBA franchise, is not going to fight to make the play-in every single year. That's what the Hawks. I feel like that's what their coaches kind of told me over these past few seasons or whatever. Like that's just what it seems like. It's just bad basketball.
Fight to make the play-in.
It's
we're gonna fight hard.
Yeah.
42 and 40.
That's what it sounds like. And obviously, it doesn't diminish the fact that Trae Young is an elite basketball player. Should have been an all-star this year. I can't remember if he got replaced or not. But he is an all-star caliber point guard. He's a very, very good point guard. I think he could –
point guard.
Exactly. I think he could probably be a number one option on a championship-winning team. But the Hawks have not surrounded him with anybody else to complement his skill. I really like the fact that they had DeAndre Hunter. They don't anymore. They traded him away to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, and picks. Don't like that at all because he's a young player. He was drafted, I think, 2019. So he's been around. He's been with the Hawks since he was drafted, and obviously he's not like going to be your number 2 guy. He could be a number 3 guy possibly. He's a good scorer, pretty good defender, above average defender. But it's just you're giving up one of your best young players. I don't really like the fact that they're bringing back like they got LeVert and Georges Niang. I do like that. LeVert's an underrated scorer, but he's a bench guy at best. He's going to be that 6th unit point guard. LeVert, Georges Niang is old.
31 and Georges Niang is 34.
No, yeah, so I don't care that they got picks back. That package for DeAndre Hunter just does not excite me. They also traded away Bogdan Bogdanovic for Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. I like that return definitely a little bit more, but Atlanta also had to give up 3 second-round picks in this deal, which I really don't like. And like maybe Terrence Mann and Bones Highland start a few games, but all you brought in for 2 of your starters are just second-unit guys that can score a little bit, dribble, and handle the offense for that second unit off the bench. I don't like that return for 2 starters. It does not show me any urgency that Atlanta's trying to build around Trae Young and try to get him that other piece or 2 to be a championship contender. I know they made the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago, and that was like their NBA championship in itself. But I don't think this team is going to be good. I don't think that Trae Young's going to stick around for much longer if this is what the product in Atlanta is going to be. Because obviously he wants to win. He's won a little bit in his NBA career, not anywhere near what a player of his caliber should probably be settling for. I just don't like this move for Atlanta. I don't think it sets them up for any sort of success in the future, and anything it diminishes their future with Trae Young.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. It's just they're just playing purgatory. They're in the same group with like the Bulls and like the Hornets and like whatever other like super average Eastern Conference team is in there. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like Bones Highland, Trae Mann are great bench guys to have if your roster is complete. Their roster is far from complete. I mean,
exactly.
They got rid of John Collins. They got rid, and now they're getting rid of DeAndre Hunter. I mean, everybody from that conference finals run is gone. Like this is, they're like trying to do like a retool, but you can't retool in the NBA. This isn't like the NFL or the MLB where you can just rebuild on the fly. It takes years. Years, you know. So but yeah, those are our winners and losers right now. We have a couple more minutes to get into some other topics right now, but we like to keep things a little bit shorter here on the play-by-play show. But let's transition into a sport that is right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers have reported, and all players, actually not all players, I know the Phillies reported, but everybody should be, all the teams in MLB should have reported down there by the beginning of this week or midway through this week. So This is Sunday, February 16th. So by the 18th, the 19th, or 20th, everybody should be down there. But one of the latest big moves come out of MLB is the signing of Alex Bregman's going to the Red Sox. I mean, I like this move. The Red Sox, they're not like a team that just is like, wow, they're gonna go to the World Series and win the whole thing. They're still a solid team right now. I don't really know what this means for their lineup. But we can get that into a second.
Yeah, I want to touch on their lineup in a second.
For 3 years, $120 million. Not a bad deal for Alex Bregman personally. I mean, I think they overspent a little bit for a guy that's 30 years old. I actually thought he was older, to be honest. He's 30 years old. I mean, that's actually that's not that bad. 3 years. That's the contract I would put a hand out in like MLB The Show or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, what are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I like this deal. Obviously, I think the Red Sox are kind of flying under the radar as a team that can kind of compete this year. I want to read off their top six in their lineup for the projected lineup, obviously, for 2025. Jarren Duran, number 1. Alex Bregman, number 2. Rafael Devers, number 3. Tristan Casas in that number 4 role. Trevor Story at number 5. And Masataka Yoshida at number 6. Also, to go along with the rotation, Garrett Crochet as your 1. Tanner Houck as your 2. Brian Bell as your 3. Kyler Crawford is your 4. And then I don't know if you realize that these guys are on the team. Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito are your 5 and 6 in your rotation projected. So this team is built pretty good. I know it's not 2020 with prime Walker Buehler, prime Lucas Giolito, and prime Alex Bregman, but this team is still very good. I feel like they have a window. They were 81 and 81 in 2024, about as average as you can get in pretty much every statistic.
Yeah.
But they're good, and there's no denying that. I think Alex Bregman definitely gives them a good dynamic because it completes their infield, and it gives them a really good shot to have some success. I just think the most interesting thing is obviously Bregman was playing for the money here. He had offers from the Detroit Tigers and the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs offered him 4 years, $120 million, and then the Tigers offered him 6 years, $171.5 million. So obviously, like longer, better. You could say maybe argue for better offers on the table, but Alex Bregman was definitely going for that AAV here, which he did. I think it's a win for him. He gets his bag, and he also is going to a team that's not going to be bad by any means. I think
they look like a team that get 90, 95 wins. They look
like
a team who could kind of compete for the division, if not the first wild card spot.
Yeah, as long as everything goes right. But I believe that this is a win. Obviously, those offers from Detroit and Chicago would have been better long term for him because he's 30 years old right now. Like 4 years down the line, we'll see. 6 years down the line, we'll definitely see how he's still playing. But good for him. Would have been nice to see him in a Cubs uniform or a Tigers uniform with some of the pushes that they're trying to make for their success. Yeah. Tigers just coming off a playoff appearance, and the Cubs are just short of one last year. So
Cubs doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, they traded Cody Bellinger, so why the hell are you going to bring in 30-year-old Alex Bregman? Yeah. Detroit Tigers, that makes sense to me. They need a third baseman. I mean, and
they need a star alongside Riley Greene as well.
They need all the help they can get. Like not on the pitching staff, but like for bat wise, they do definitely need a lot of help. I mean, I'm intrigued by this Red Sox lineup right now. I just think that probably means Rafael Devers is the DH, because then you probably play Yoshida in left field, and then they have Ceddanne Rafaela in center field, and then in right field that probably is Jarren Duran. Because actually Yoshida play right, Jarren Duran would play left. But yeah, good move. We'll see how if any more free agents get snapped up. We'll obviously update you on that right now. But I think we wanted to touch on Aaron Rodgers. We wanted to touch on the Four Nations. But we're running a little short on time here today on the play-by-play show. But if you enjoyed, leave a positive review, leave a comment, like it up on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the TikTok, on the YouTube. All those links will be available to you. And we're happy to have you on this ride. I can't wait to get back at it next weekend when we have hopefully some more interesting things to talk about. But yeah, any closing thoughts, Jake?
No, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be the first honorary guest on this show. It's going to be exciting going forward. You guys definitely got to tune in to all these episodes going forward. This show is only going to get better as more exciting sports news happens, but also as the episodes go on. So keep tuning in, and we'll be active. Don't you worry.
Yeah, don't you worry. All right. Well, that will do it for the play-by-play show. Excuse me, episode 2 done and dusted. But I've been Leo West alongside Jake Smith, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of your morning, rest of your night, whenever you're watching this or listening to this. So yeah, we will see you next time.
Peace.